Well, good evening, and this is episode 17 titled Questions and Answers. I'm still working on the questions and answers for my son's journal at his facility, and the answers are my answers, not his. How would you describe yourself to someone who had never met you? I'm perfect in all ways and not at all egotistical. Do you regularly remember your dreams? Write about your most vividly remembered dreams. Not as many as I would like at my advanced age, and I usually find my dreams to be interesting, and some of the ones I have now are also interesting, but many of them disappear by the time I wake up. The most fascinating aspect of my dreams when I was much younger were the landscapes and places that were unique, places that I had never seen before. Where did these come from? I have no idea, but perhaps dreams are more of an illusion than we think they are. What does it mean to be a good friend? What type of friend are you? To have a friend, you need to be a friend. In other words, you have to be there when they need you most, listen to them, and spend quality time with them while you can. People need each other. Do you think of yourself as a cool person or a warm person? A little of both, probably more warm than cool. I care about people, enjoy being with people, and I'm understanding and supportive. What is the greatest mistake you ever made? I've made so many grand mistakes, it's very difficult to pinpoint a particular one. If I had the time and ambition, I could tell you hundreds of them. Many of them were grand and they all seem to run into one another. I tend to make about three mistakes every correct choice. If you could visit one destination in space, what would it be? Someone's heart and soul. How old were you when you first knew what you wanted to do in life? How did that feeling evolve over time? I was about 9 or 10 and I decided that I wanted to play professional football. I love the game and still do, and I grew up playing on the streets and playgrounds, and we played quite often. I would go on to play midget football and high school football, but realized that I didn't have a chance of making the pros, especially at my size, and decided to pass on football in college. What is your greatest fear? Do you think it's realistic or not? Extreme physical and emotional pain, war, and famine, and it's always realistic. Write about a time when you learned something new about yourself. I could say every day, but I think every few weeks is more realistic. What is your most deeply held belief? That the universe is chaotic, undefinable, not fair, and doesn't give a damn about us. If you could have any one question answered, what would it be? Who could answer it for you? This question, and no idea who could answer it. Do you think you would like being a parent? Why or why not? Being a parent is like writing a great novel or song. You don't always appreciate doing it, but you appreciate having done it. And your genes are passed on because if you don't have children, then you have broken the link to you having lived. Your genes are gone. Who is your celebrity crush? What do you find appealing about him or her? Don't know for both questions. Write about a time when you felt pure joy. Being madly in love with someone and suspecting that they may feel the same about you. And this is more likely in your teenage years and early 20s. Write about a time when you made something up as you went along. I'm doing that just right now. If you were to have a mantra, what would it be and when would you use it? I don't have a mantra, I make it up all as I go along. If you were a toy, what kind would you be? I'd rather not answer this. How is your life different today than when your parents were alive? In so many ways, too many ways to write down. Their generation had so many less opportunities in life to them, and they experienced the Depression in the 1930s and World War II just a few years later. It was a tough time to grow up. Ours was a piece of cake. What is the most valuable thing you own, and why is it so special? I would say my family and my music because I love both dearly and don't think I could live without them, and include friends too. But of course, I don't own my wife and children. For the music part, it is art in its purest form. What is the most important quality for the President of the United States to have? Honesty, integrity, intelligence, service oriented, versatility, humility, flexibility, and empathy. And that's more than one thing. Write a poem about what it's like to live in this year. I'm 67 years old and grateful to be alive and somewhat healthy, and I realize that's not much of a poem. Have you ever gotten into trouble in school, and how did you feel? Yes, not bad. I got over it, and so did they. School administrators knew how to handle most kids back in the 60s and 70s. We didn't have cops patrolling our hallways and standing in front of our schools, and we didn't have zero tolerance. The people back then knew how to handle kids, and they didn't hold a grudge. And no one in middle school or high school went to court back in our day. Write about a compliment you receive often, and how do you feel when you hear it? I don't get that many compliments, and I don't pay attention to the ones I do get. But I recall a friend that I had many years ago told me that most people are tough on the outside, but soft on the inside. He said that I was the opposite. And a woman I worked with years ago told me that I contained a thin veil of cruelty in me. She misread my emotions, though I can get very emotional at times, especially when I'm frustrated. Write a poem about America. Okay, let's see. How about America is a jungle that attempts to appear to not be a jungle? And again, that's not much of a poem. Write about something that makes your family unique. All families are unique in their own way. So I could say that our family is crazy at times and hard to define, but that is not something unique in families. So I guess that's really nothing unique about our family. Do you think of yourself as being artistic? What is your favorite type of art? Sometimes, though I can't draw a stick figure, but I have composed some music and love to write. Music is my favorite art form, while humor is my second. If you got a new pet, what kind of animal would you choose and why? I think a jellyfish, and I don't know why, I just like the way they look. Write about something in your life that you couldn't live without. People, music, beer or wine, laughter, comedy, women. If I had to do it all over again, I would have befriended more women. They're fascinating creatures, although there is an interesting question about men and women, and it is as follows. What is the one thing that men and women agree upon? They both enjoy the company of men. And I didn't say that, somebody else did. What is the hardest thing that you ever had to do in your life? Seeing another living being suffer. I don't handle that very well. Write a poem about summer afternoons. It was hot and I was not. It's the best I can come up with. What does it mean to love someone? Real love is helping others when they need your help, sacrificing for others, and just being there for them. If someone you know calls at 3 a.m. for an emergency and you don't hesitate by saying, I'll be right there, that is love. What is your greatest weakness, and how could you work to strengthen that quality? So I asked my wife what she thought, and she said patience, and I completely disagree with her. What does she know? In an earlier paragraph, I mentioned some of my flaws, and the list is lengthy. Obsessive, enigmatic, confused, speculative, moody, sensitive. I don't know how to strengthen any of these, and I really don't mind my weaknesses. They define you just as much as your strengths do. And unfortunately, I have many more weaknesses than strengths. Write about something you can do to improve yourself. See previous question, and I will stop here and see you soon. Thank you.